Okay, well, those are the headlines that we'll be tracking for you this evening. But of course, on to the big topic at hand. Unfortunately, and like I flagged off, as COVID-19 ravages on, it is bringing along with it a lot of casualties. Just in the last 24 hours, for example, 3,915 new deaths have come in. And this is definitely very disturbing. You know, when a member of your family dies, what's along with the emotional distress that it brings about, it also brings along with it financial duress and distress. You could be left picking up all the pieces when it comes to finances. Finding all the information as well that you may need will be challenging. Then you don't even know whether or not a person has left a will. Someone will need to take care of bill payments, other automatic payments that are on. Sometimes many individuals are left to do all of this alone. And yes, you know, it could be too much to deal with finances when you're already going through all of the emotional duress, but unfortunately it is something that has to be done. So I hope that with this program we'll ease that process for you. Let me bring on the show now Harsh Rungta, personal finance expert, to talk to us about all of this. Mr. Rungta, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you and your family are doing well and keeping safe. You know, Mr. Rungta, when, of course, someone dies suddenly, the family does not really have time to prepare, obviously. This wave has come in with such ferocity. It's taken all of us by surprise. There's so much uncertainty. So if you could just sort of provide some guide to start off with, how should one deal with the passing away of an earning family member?
So I think one of the biggest things that happens in India when an earning member or a member who's managing the finances of the family, when he or she passes away, in most cases in India it's a male. The issue is that finance is one issue, but what are the assets, what are the liabilities, what are the ongoing payments, what insurances are available, even that is not known. I don't think, our culture is such that people share even with their spouses or their loved ones their financial status and what all their assets and liabilities is. And this becomes a problem when he or she is suddenly taken away from the scene. Typically the family is in shock, obviously, because of the death of that person. This is one of the things that a trusted relative, a trusted friend could really help with for the family to pick up the pieces. And the first step in picking the pieces is to know which are the pieces to be picked up. I think that really is the real key. And there are small little things that can be done, quickly to find out what the assets liabilities are, where that document does not exist, where information has not really been shared by the deceased person. And I think the key to that is the mobile of the person and his email IDs, his various email IDs. I think having access and getting access and making use of that access to create a picture of the financial position, assets, liabilities, insurances, etc., is the key to then doing some planning on top of it. If you don't know what you have, what you owe, how will you do any further planning on top of that?
Okay, all right. Now, we'll talk about the importance of having a will for this purpose later on the show. But let's say if there's no will, it can be really difficult to take stock of all the assets that were owned by the individual. So where should one start off then to take an inventory of all of that?
It's one, I think, as far as the financial assets are concerned, typically if there are shares in a demat account or if there are mutual funds, etc., one of the best places to find what holdings the deceased person had was to look at the known email IDs that you have. I mean, if you know the person well or you're closely related to the person, you would know his official email ID. You would most probably know his personal email ID. You can go there and do a search on the subject line called your NSDL CAS. Okay. And now NSDL sends out a monthly statement of your holdings of equity shares, the holdings of mutual funds, etc. And I think that can be a rich source of where all those assets are. Another place is if you obviously if you have the access to the mobile, you can search the messages to find out if any insurance premium has been paid, and therefore get a you see, getting insurances all in one place is a tough thing because very few people in India are doing the dematerialization of insurances. I think till that catches on, especially life insurance, till that catches on, I think getting all that information in one place is a little tough. But you can use the email IDs and the emails to get at least the assets, financial assets, equity shares, mutual fund units. You can get copy of the credit report, the CIBIL. You can go to www.cibil.com, get the copy of the free credit report. At least that will give you, obviously you will have to give the OTPs, etc., that come on the, and you will need access to the email and the mobile. But that CIBIL report will give you what are the various liabilities that may be currently be on, including credit cards, including home loans, any personal loans, etc., that you might have. At least that gives you a starting point to work with till you get into the more difficult parts like the real estate or insurances. The other rich source could be if the person is employed, talking to the HR to find out what are the various things that the person had done and what the company has. Even if he is employed or whether or not he is employed, he was self-employed. If the family is aware of whether the person had an advisor, whether the person had an insurance agent, I think a call to them would enable getting a picture of what kind of policies the person had or what kind of investments the person had. So I think building this picture, helping the family build that picture, and this person would have to be trusted. It will have to be a very, very close relative whom the family trusts, part of the family, in fact. They can, or a very, very close friend. They can take the help of an external advisor, but I think the key driver will have to be this person who's inside the family unit.
Okay, yeah. I think at that point it's very important that your loved ones as well are in touch with your financial planner, your CA as well. They know who the person is. They have the proper contact details. They should not be left in the dark. Of course, all of this needs to be done before, and I hope this is something that everyone does too. In terms of the rights, or in terms of insurance, payments, etc., that the family of the deceased is eligible to get. Now there's so much, right? There's insurance, there's provident fund and other social security schemes that the government has allowed for. Mr. Rungda, for the benefit of our viewers, if you could enlist or enumerate all of that. When you're when the deceased was an employee with the company, there's gratuity, there's so much. So what all in terms of payments can the family members of the deceased expect to receive?
So one, as I said, if you are an employee, then your employer itself could have various kinds of policies, that they might have taken, and you might be entitled for benefits under that. The other things are, obviously the employee provident fund would have a nominee registered, or nominee or nominees registered with their percentage share, and there is a claim form along with the notarized death certificate, etc. Once you submit that, today the process of uh, giving that out is not very tough. Obviously, the nominee's own KYC needs to be done along with those documents. So those need to be submitted. A little known fact is this employee deposit linked insurance. A part of the employer contributes to this employee's deposit linked insurance. The maximum limit is 6 lakhs, but that is likely to be available to most employees who die while in employment. So that is something that they should definitely be looking at, apart from anything that they would have done on their own. So these are external things that we are talking about. We are not really here talking about the things that the person himself or herself would have done.
All right. Okay. So that's in terms of what you are owed in terms of assets. Now, Mr. Rungta, as an individual, we make so many payments. I mean, especially if you're a business owner, right? So many clients, so many suppliers, clients to pay. Plus, you have all the other government-related payments as well, right? There could be GST, it could be income tax, etc. And after the individual passes away, those bills then fall upon the family members. So how can one sort of ensure that the payments are actually due and that they are not being swindled? There are many unscrupulous people, unfortunately, out there who could take advantage of the event. So how would you recommend that the family members ensure that they are not being swindled?
So it actually works both ways. There could be monies due to the person. Let's say this is a self-employed person. There is monies due to the person, and he or she could owe money to external parties. In both cases, I think access to the email and looking at the email exchanges, looking at the WhatsApp exchanges, a lot of self-employed people do a huge amount of business on WhatsApp. So, whether a certain amount is due, whether it is overdue, either to the deceased person or from the deceased person, you are very likely to see a track record, or you are very likely to see records of those, either what is due to that person or what is the obligation of that person on the email, on the mobile. You could look at the GST returns. Most self-employed people would have a financial consultant who at least does the tax and the GST returns. So look at those GST returns and look at those income tax returns. I think a combined strategy, looking at the records, as I suggested, looking at emails, looking at mobiles, looking at WhatsApp messages, which has now become a key mode of communication. That I think is key to finding out what your liability is, what the person's liability is, and what is due to him. Both ways, money may be due to the deceased person. The other party may, want to wriggle out of its thinking that the person is no longer there. So to try and get that and use all the records you have, basically WhatsApp messages, emails, GST invoices, to get that money. And if somebody is saying that money is due to that person, then again checking all these records to make sure that that money is genuinely due to that third party. I think this is a very tricky affair, and I think the lesson here is that you must keep your affairs in order and must pass appropriate communication to people who are close to you, at least one person. or the least you could do is at least tell them a document of the kind that we advocate, okay, what to do if I die, what to do if I am incommunicado. I mean, today people are going into the hospital if they are in coma, okay, and they are the ones who manage the finances. What to do if that person is not around to manage the finances? The nomination does not kick in because the person fortunately might be still alive. What to do in that case? I think uh, information there is the key. And I think where that information is available, even if you don't share the detailed information because it keeps changing, but having a document that provides the roadmap to where that information is available, that I think is a key. I think this is something that any good planner will tell you. The only issue is we see that clients have such huge inertia in doing these kind of things. I think the general trend, the same inertia why people don't make wills, the same inertia about this, this does not happen to me. It only happens to to other people. It does not happen to me. It is only events, unfortunate events like this current, ferocious spurt in the COVID-19 casualties, COVID-19 people being incapacitated. I think because of this, there is some awareness, and we say we are doing this program. Even if one viewer out of all the viewers who are watching, even if one viewer, I think, does this exercise, I think this entire program would have been worth it.
Absolutely, Mr. Rungta, and I think that is our hope as well, that our viewers listen to this program, take notes, and apply it as well, so that things are a little easier on the event of your passing away. It provides so much financial security, eases the burden as well on your loved ones, on how they can pick up the financial pieces when you are no longer with them. Okay, let's take on board some questions and queries as well then from our viewers very quickly. First question from Prakash Brahma. He says, can you kindly explain the following in the case of the holder's death? Firstly, if shares are held by two individuals as joint holders and one of the holders dies, so what happens then? Are the shares automatically transferred to the surviving holder? Second, if the shares are held in demat form in a single name of the holder and the nominee is written in the DP, so then does it transfer to the nominee? And similarly for mutual funds, does the survivor automatically get the transfer to his or her name? And if held under a single name, if a nominee has already been named, what is the procedure that must be followed for the transfer of the the units? I think it's nice that this question covers everything from shares to demat accounts to mutual funds. So Mr. Rungta, what would be the procedure?
So I'll explain the broad principles. See, the basic thing, there could be slight differences in processes. But let's take a case where there are joint holders, okay, and the security is not held in demat form. The security could be a share, it could be a mutual fund unit. Where they are not held in demat form, then it requires there be some kind of a transmission form. The form itself could be different depending on the type of asset. A transmission form, a notarized death certificate, and the physical certificate in case it exists, like in a share it exists. I think broadly, if that is done, then it is that particular share is then transferred in the name of the surviving joint holder. So that is as far as the joint holder physical is concerned. If that same joint holding is in a demat form, then the surviving shareholder would need to have a demat account in his or her name. Process is similar. I mean, you need to do the transmission form. You need to give the notarized death certificate. And then in this case, the securities would be transferred to the demat account of the surviving holder. where there is a nominee, where there is a single holder, let's say in a demat share, and there is a nominee, then it is transferred in the name of the nominee. If it is demat, then in the demat account of the nominee, or if it was a physical share, then on the back of the physical share, etc., it is transferred in the name of the nominee. After the KYC and the verification of the nominee is done. This is if the nominee is on record, right? If there is no nominee, then of course, and there is a single holding, no nominee, then of course you would need some kind of a letter of succession, some kind of an heirship letter from the courts to be able to prove that you are legally entitled to those securities. And that is one big reason why you must never hold financial assets without a nominee. Please, it is my entreaty to everyone listening to this program. If you have not already done so, all your bank accounts, all your demat accounts, all your mutual fund folios or accounts or whatever, through whatever means you are holding, please make sure you have nominees. Even if you are joint holders, please make sure you have nominees. The current pandemic is taking away both the people. So in that case, it becomes without nominee.
Absolutely.
Please have nominees.
Yes.
It's an earnest request.
All right. Got it. And yes, it can be a very complex process going to the court, proving, that you are the next in line successor. So please ensure you always put the name of a nominee for all your assets. Mr. Rungta, thank you so much for joining us with this very valuable program. And I hope our viewers as well take heed to all that you have said. We will be putting up this entire show on YouTube, on ET Now's YouTube channel. For now, we'll wrap it up.